I can't even express how angry, how emotional that makes me. When I woke up that day, I was actually really excited because it was supposed to be like a really good day because I had picked out my own clothes, and for someone who was 7, that was a big deal. And later that day, when we were like gonna go out to recess, Mrs. Clements used to have us give us each a turn to hold her walkie-talkie while we walked out, and it was my day. So I was so excited. But I remember getting to school and being at morning meeting, and this is kind of when it all unfolded. So we were all in a circle, like saying like good morning and stuff, waiting for the loudspeaker. And then I guess it just happened, like the gunshots. But I just remember someone saying like Cubbies, and like we all just like ran to the Cubbies. I remember like someone knocked over a chair or something because like we were all moving so quickly. I was like wedged into the Cubbies, and our door was like right there, and then the Cubbies were like pressed up on the other side of the door because there was like a little wall. And so like from the door, you couldn't really see the Cubbies until you walked fully into the classroom. I remember all of us being really quiet, but like really loud at the same time. Like, cause we were all sobbing, and it was just like so loud, but we were trying so hard to be quiet. And I remember we could hear the footsteps of the firemen on the roof, and it freaked us out so badly. Because like in our mind, we didn't really know what was going on. We kind of just figured like, oh no, like someone else is out to get us, like on the roof. All of that was over the loudspeaker too. So we could hear everything going on. The reason the loudspeaker was on is because Mrs. Hawksprung was trying to warn us, but then she got shot. And so we just kind of heard more gunshots, obviously. We heard all the loud noises and stuff, and like the static of the speaker. I remember the static of the speaker really well. There was 2 doors. One was the one next to the Cubbies, like I said, and then one was like across the classroom that connected to another classroom. And I just remember being so afraid of that other door that maybe like he would come in through that other classroom and go into our room. Mrs. Clements dragged over a desk, and she was trying to read to us with a book, and like she was holding it up, but her hands were just like shaking a lot, and so it was like really hard to just like stay calm. And I remember her calling 911, and I remember her going out into the hallway and pulling 2 first graders from the hallway. We even like pulled over like the stuffed animals that we had, because we had like a little farm for our stuffed animals, and we were trying to like calm each other down. I don't know how long it was, but I remember when the police finally knocked on the door, we all just like screamed no. Like I didn't even process what was going on. I just remember myself screaming no, and like so many other people just being like, no, please, like don't open the door. And when they finally opened the door, the police came and got us, and they told us to line up and put our hands on the person in front of us shoulders and close our eyes, and then they let us out of the building. And I know a few of my friends didn't close their eyes, and like they're still so scarred because they saw like their classmates, I guess. And we didn't know if the guy was still alive. We didn't know if he was still roaming the halls. I was like, where's my sister? Where's my sister? And I would go up to every single policeman, and I was sobbing on them, and I was just like falling all over them, being like, where is my sister? Do you know if my sister's alive? Like, please help me find my sister. And I remember I actually met up with my friend who's still my best friend then, who's still my best friend now. And then we went off and we finally found my sister in her classroom full of kindergartners with her teacher. And I remember just like finding her and my best friend was like the most relieved I've ever been in my entire life. I remember giving her the biggest hug. I remember my mom was at the grocery store, so she like didn't get there till like the very end, and I was like, where's my mom? Like, why is my mom not here? It was just a whole lot of anxiety that I had never felt as a 7-year-old. I had hardly even felt sadness. Everything was just different now. Like everything was just sad and scary, and like it kind of like made us realize like the world's not like all sunshine and rainbows, I guess. Like it's not everything our childhood had been up to that far. Even though it was 8 years ago, like that doesn't make it any better. And the fact that it was 8 years ago and still very little has changed is so unacceptable. And the thing about like this trauma and specifically because we were so young, you don't really grow away from it. You kind of grow around it. As you grow up, it like moves with you. And so like I remember like a couple years ago I was in middle school. And so during middle school, I had to go through all of that all over again because my mind is maturing and I'm growing up. I had to just like kind of realize like what had happened to me and like all these things. And like I have PTSD from the shooting, you know, like I have a lot of my anxiety started from 12-14. Like that's where a lot of bad emotions came from. And there's a lot of survivor's guilt too. Just like thinking like somehow as like a 7-year-old I was supposed to do something. Like obviously like I know I couldn't have, but that doesn't change the fact that I felt like I should have been able to. Or like maybe like I didn't deserve some of the pity that was given to me because I didn't lose anyone myself or I wasn't shot myself. For them to say like that this just didn't happen, for it to be a hoax, for them to be paid actors or something, it's so invalidating. It is incredibly invalidating to everything our community has gone through, to everything other communities have ggone through. I can't give you proof except for my trauma, except for like the letters people wrote to us, except for like the fact that I actually went to that school, you know? I can't even express how angry, how emotional that makes me. He understands what losing a child is like, and he understands the amount of trauma and like pain that comes behind losing a child. So I think for him to like be able to connect to that is so like powerful because he can make a difference. And I think a big thing I would tell him is just not give up on us, you know, not give up on the idea of like you can't change, because like if he pushes hard enough and if we continue to fight long enough and hard enough, things will change.
We will stop the steal. Today I will lay out just some of the evidence proving that we won this election, and we won it by a landslide. This was not a close election. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
Yeah!
Let's take the Capitol.
Take the Capitol.
Let's take the Capitol.
We are going to the Capitol, where our problems are. It's that direction.
Tens of thousands of votes. They came in duffel bags. Where the hell did they come from?
Madam Speaker, the Vice President, and the United States Senate.
Off the sidewalk.
Stand up for him. Stand up for him. We outnumber you a million to one out here, dude.
Take the building! Take the building! Fuck these kids. Join us! That's enough! There's more coming!
The Constitution says you have to protect our country, and you have to protect our Constitution. And you can't vote on fraud. And fraud breaks up everything, doesn't it? When you catch somebody in a fraud, you're allowed to go by very different rules. So I hope Mike has the courage to do what he has to do.
Talk about you,
And we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Fuck DC police! Fuck you!
So we're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I love Pennsylvania Avenue. And we're going to the Capitol. And we're going to try and give our Republicans, the weak ones, because the strong ones don't need any of our help. We're going to try and give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country.
Get the fuck out of here, you traitors!
Majority Leader.
We're debating a step that has never been taken in American history. President Trump claims the election was stolen. The assertions range from specific local allegations to constitutional arguments to sweeping conspiracy theories. But my colleagues, nothing before us proves illegality anywhere near the massive scale that would have tipped the entire election.
Fuck you, police! Second floor!
My challenge today is not about the good people of Arizona.
And it will stand in recess until the call of the chair.
We'll pause.
Protesters are in the building.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, can I have order in the chamber?
The House will be in order. The House will be in order. Okay.
million of us out there, and we are listening to Trump, your boss. Treason! 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 Defend your Constitution! Defend your liberty! Defend your Constitution!
They're leaving. They're leaving.
Where the fuck are they?
There's gotta be something in here we can fucking use against these scumbags.
That's what we fucking need to have 30,000 guns up here. That's true. That's what we need. Let's go! Let's go! Take it! Take it out! Use the shield! Use the shield! Use the shield! We need fresh patriots in the front!
There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel, but go home and go home in peace.
Counties, storm your own Capitol buildings, and take down every one of these corrupt motherfuckers! Hang up!
Senators, the president was impeached by the U.S. House of Representatives on January 13th for doing that. You ask what a high crime and misdemeanor is under our Constitution? That's a high crime and misdemeanor. If that's not an impeachable offense, then there is no such thing.
While Vice President Pence presided over the joint session, Trump supporters began their assault on our Capitol. Radio communications from the Metropolitan Police Department highlight how during and following President Trump's speech, Trump supporters descended on the Capitol and became increasingly violent. What you are about to hear has not been made public before.
Multiple capital entries! Multiple capital entries!
1318.
A 12 to 50, we're coming around from the south side.
Be advised the speech ended.
Intel 1, be advised, you got a group of about 50 charging up the hill on the west front, just north of the stairs. They're approaching the wall now.
They're starting to dismantle their reviewing stand and throwing metal poles at us. Cruiser 50, give me DSO up here now! DSO! Multiple law enforcement entries! DSO, get up here! Alright, we're 30 seconds out. We need some reinforcements up here now. They're starting to pull the gates down. They're throwing metal poles at us. Cruiser 50, DSO, get up here! Okay, we're here. 12 to 50, we're here. We just had an explosion go on up here. I know there's fireworks or what, but they're starting to explode explosives. Fireworks material.
Now we're going to show you, through security footage that has not been made public before, what that same breach looked like from the inside. Now, because this is security footage, there's no sound. Note, as the video begins, we are seeing the inside view as the mob approaches from outside and beats the windows and doors. You can see that the rioter first break the window with the wooden beam that you saw previously, and a lone police officer inside responds and begins to spray the first man who enters, but is quickly overwhelmed. I want you to pay attention to the first group of assailants as they break into the building. The second man through the window is wearing full tactical body armor and is carrying a baseball bat. Others are carrying riot shields. Among this group are members of the Proud Boys, some of whom, like Dominic Pizzola, who was recently indicted on federal conspiracy charges we will discuss later. Can watch where they're coming on our model as well. You all may have seen footage of Officer Goodman previously, but there's more to his heroic story. In this security footage, you can see Officer Goodman running to respond to the initial breach. Officer Goodman passes Senator Mitt Romney and directs him to turn around in order to get to safety. On the first floor, just beneath them, the mob had already started to search for the Senate chamber. Officer Goodman made his way down to the first floor where he encountered the same insurrectionists we just saw breach the Capitol. As the rioters reached the top of the stairs, they were within 100 feet of where the vice president was sheltering with his family. And they were just a feet away from one of the doors to this chamber, where many of you remained at that time. I also want to show you a different angle from the security footage of Officer Goodman's acts. This video is on the second floor of the Senate wing of the Capitol. The red dot, as you recall, represents the insurrectionists. The blue dot is Officer Goodman, who led the mob away from the chamber just minutes earlier. On the left-hand side of the video, just inside the hallway, is the door to the Senate chamber. And watch how Officer Goodman provokes the rioters and purposefully draws them away from the door to the Senate chamber and towards the other officers waiting down the hall. The rioter seen carrying a baseball bat in this video is the same one we saw moments ago breaching the window on the first floor. While all of this was going on, Vice President Pence was still in the room near the Senate chamber. It was not until 2:26 that he was evacuated to a secure location. This next security video shows that evacuation. His movements are depicted by the orange dot in our model. The red and blue dots represents the location where the mob and Officer Goodman were, and where Officer Goodman led the mob away from the chamber just moments ago. You can see Vice President Pence and his family quickly move down the stairs. The Vice President turns around briefly as he's headed down. They were talking about assassinating the Vice President of the United States. During the course of the attack, the Vice President never left the Capitol, remained locked down with his family inside the building. Remember that as you think about these images and the sounds of the attack. The Vice President, our second in command, was always at the center of it. Vice President Pence was threatened with death by the president's supporters because he rejected President Trump's demand that he overturn the election. The mob also went after Speaker of the House, who alongside the Vice President was presiding over the joint session of the certification in the House chamber. The Capitol Police deemed the threat so dangerous that they evacuated her entirely from the Capitol complex, rushing her to a secure off-site location. The insurrectionist intent to murder the Speaker of the House is well documented in charging documents that are now available. We know from the rioters themselves that if they had found Speaker Pelosi, they would have killed her. About the same time, Capitol Police announced that Capitol had been breached. Speaker Pelosi's staff heeded the call to shelter in place. On our model, you can see the rioters in the rotunda in red and the Speaker's office again in orange. So this is a security video, so there is no sound. As you can see here, the staff moves from their offices through the halls and then enters a door on the right-hand side. That's the outer door of a conference room, which also has an inner door that they barricaded with furniture. The staff then hid under a conference room table in that inner room. This is the last staffer going in and then barricading themselves inside of the inner office. After just 7 minutes of them barricading themselves and the last staffer entering the door on the right, a group of rioters enter the hallway outside. And once inside, the rioters have free reign in the Speaker of the House's offices. In this security video, pay attention to the door that we saw those staffers leading into and going into. One of the rioters you can see is throwing his body against the door 3 times until he breaks open that outer door. Luckily, when faced with the inner door, he moves on. Another rioter later tried, unsuccessfully, to break through that inner door. At this point, the mob had already broken into the Speaker's formal conference room that is in the back of the hall at the top of the video. I want to play some audio we have of the Speaker's staff with the rioters at the door that day. You can hear the terror in their voice as they describe what's happening to them as they are barricaded in that conference room. Please listen carefully, because the staffer is whispering into a phone as he hides from the rioters that are outside the door.
Texting Mike that they're within our hall. We need Capitol Police, I think, coming to the hallway. They're pounding on doors trying to find her. Yeah.
You can hear the pounding in the background as that staffer is speaking. One of those staffers explained later that they could hear the mob going through her offices, breaking down the door and yelling, "Where are you, Nancy?" The Vice President, the Speaker of the House, the first and second in line to the presidency, were performing their constitutional duties, presiding over the election certification, and they were put in danger because President Trump put his own desires, his own need for power over his duty to the Constitution and our democratic process. President Trump put a target on their backs, and his mob broke into the Capitol to hunt them down.
I wish Senator Paul would show the respect to his colleagues to wear a mask when he's on the Senate floor.
I ask unanimous consent that the subsequent votes be 10 minutes in duration.
Is there objection?
Mr. President, reserving the right to object, I would like to ask Senator Paul in front of everybody to start wearing a mask on the Senate floor like the entire staff does all the time, particularly the staff that I appreciate now, the presiding officer wearing a mask, but I wish Senator Paul would show the respect to his colleagues to wear a mask when he's on the Senate floor, walking around and speaking.
Infected in March. In fact, when he was infected, as he was waiting for his results, he took a swim in the Senate swimming pool. How selfish, how rude to his colleagues.
We have 11 million people in our country who have already had COVID. We should tell them to celebrate. We should tell them to throw away their masks, go to restaurants, live again, because these people are now immune.
If the senator doesn't think he can be infected again with the variant, he's wrong. If he doesn't think he can give it to his colleagues, he's wrong. If he thinks he's making some sort of heroic libertarian stand, he's wrong and just out and out selfish. He needs to do what we all do in the healthcare setting, which is wear a mask to protect yourself, protect your colleagues, and set an example. Lead, be a leader. He's not being a leader. What a display of arrogant ignorance.
President?
Senator from Ohio.
I'd start by asking the presiding officer to please wear a mask as he speaks, and people below him are, I can't tell you what to do, but I know that the behavior...
I don't wear a mask when I'm speaking, like most senators.
Well, most senators...
So but I don't need your instruction from...
I know you don't need my instruction, but there clearly isn't much interest in this body in public health. We have a president who hasn't shown up at the coronavirus task force meeting in months. We have a majority leader that calls us back here to vote on an unqualified nominee and at the same time to vote for judge after judge after judge, exposing all the people who can't say anything, I understand, the people in front of you and the presiding officer, and expose all the staff here, and the majority leader just doesn't seem to care.
The meeting got so heated, it almost actually ended up in a physical fight. I've been covering President Trump for 5 years, and I don't know of a darker, more demented meeting that he's held. they were pushing the president to use the US military to go around the country seizing Dominion voting machines. They were pushing to invoke the National Emergencies Act and use a 2018 executive order to try and overturn a free and fair election. And the meeting got so heated, it almost actually ended up in a physical fight.
How the hell did Sydney get in the building? Hold on a minute, Sydney. You're part of the Rudy team, right? Is your theory that the Democrats got together and changed the rules? Or is it that there was foreign interference in our election?
It's foreign interference. Rudy hasn't understood what this case is about until just now.
So your theory is that Dominion intentionally flipped the votes so that we could win that county?
You're quitting. You're a quitter. You're not fighting.
Why the f*** do you keep standing up and screaming at me? If you want to come over here, come over here. If not, sit your ass down.
You are a quitter. You've been interfering with everything. You've been cutting us off.
Do you even know who the f*** I am, you idiot?
Yeah. You're Patrick Cipollone.
Wrong, you idiot.
You've brought 60 cases, and you've lost every case you've had.
Every judge is corrupt. We can't rely on them.
That's your argument? Even the judges we appointed. Are you out of your f***ing mind?
You somehow managed to misspell the word district 3 different ways in your suits.
I know how this works. I bribed Hillary Clinton $18 million on behalf of the FBI for a sting operation.
What the hell are you talking about? Why would you say something like that? How exactly are you going to do this?
There are guys with big guns and badges who can get these things.
What are you, 3 years old?
The fact is that Sidney Powell's deranged conspiracies were too much, even for a team of people who were trying to help the president initially fight, these baseless claims of fraud. So the fact that she had jumped the shark for that team, I think tells you something.